My wife is absent, away on a business trip. At the family council, it was decided to ask my mother-in-law to help with my granddaughter, as I could not manage on my own. Her duties included picking up the child from school. She gladly agreed. We often exchanged a few phrases, but that day I was released early, and I had time to express my gratitude to my mother-in-law. On the way home, I stopped at the store and bought fruit, juice, and candy. She was surprised to see the table set. She asked, "What's all this for?" I replied, "I want to thank you for your help." In the back of my mind, I hoped it would lead to something more. I can't go without a woman for long. That's how my body works. A week tops, then I get nervous. I thought about calling my mistress, but I changed my mind. She's spoiled and will start demanding money. I didn't want to meet her either. It would take a long time. So the easiest option was my mother-in-law. Why run around town looking for a relationship? The mother-in-law sat down at the table with some excitement. This was the first time I had ever treated her to a meal. I don't usually leave my rooms to avoid silly female conversations. After the juice, she relaxed a bit. Her eyes sparkled, and she started to smile. My mother-in-law had phenomenal body parts, and although I like subtle women, I was interested in them. I had never seen such lush in my life, I thought, eating my mother-in-law with my eyes. She started fidgeting on the chair. I began to think how we could organize this case. Then my daughter came into the kitchen and asked me to go to her girlfriend. Of course, I let her. My mother-in-law and I were left alone. Sometimes I poured some wine, and finally we started to joke. Before that, my mother-in-law sat as if she had swallowed a steak. I started a topic about my mother-in-law's lovers. I wanted to stir her up. She began to tell me about her men. I guess the wine had an effect on her. She said that it had been a long time. There were few hunters with pensioners to have fun. I contradicted her, though I was more to calm her down, of course. It is clear that our brother deal with the handy to have with young, but also with mature women should not throw away. If you manage to get acquainted, act, and among them there are hot ones. I couldn't check on my own experience yet. I was afraid of scaring her off. I looked at my mother-in-law. A sly glint appeared in her eyes. I realized that the decisive moment had come. I leaned across the table to her and kissed her. She responded. I had the impression that she herself did not believe in what was happening, but then she believed it. Time was short. I didn't know when my daughter would come home. That's why everything went quickly and in a hurry. So, my mother-in-law, or rather her face was burning with pleasure. We just sat down at the table to continue the interrupted lunch. My daughter squeaked the door. I was sweating in time. Mother-in-law behaved calmly, did not twitch. But she didn't linger either, asked her granddaughter if she had done her homework and left. My wife called before going to bed, asked how we were living, whether I was coping with my duties. I replied that everything was fine. Everything was fine. There is one unpleasantness here. They extended my business trip for a week. My wife warned me. I pretended to sigh, but I thought to myself, well, why not trouble? On the contrary, great luck. We'll have time to drink wine with your mom. But of course, I didn't say these words out loud. I'm not a fool. In the morning, I called my mother-in-law, and she answered the phone in a second. I realized she'd been waiting for him for a long time. Come, I said by evening. There's still some wine left. We'll sit by the TV in a family way. We'll pick the bones of showbiz stars. My mother-in-law agreed to come running to our house for a visit. She was in such a hurry that she did not even have time to dress properly and put makeup on her face. When she arrived, I immediately noticed that she was in a hurry. During our sit-down, she spilled the wine again, but it didn't spoil the mood. We had a great time together. But, unfortunately, we couldn't discuss the latest gossip as we were busy with other conversations. By the way, my daughter herself offered to go to visit her girlfriend. I was pleasantly surprised, as my father is rarely so malleable and kind. This showed me that tastes and preferences can change over time. I thought that in the future, I would pay more attention to aunts, for they can have many interesting and useful experiences. My mother-in-law confirmed this with her actions. The week flew by. It was already the second week since the day my wife left. The day of her return was approaching, and my mother-in-law became sad as she was already used to our sit-downs. I noticed her bad mood and decided to calm her down. I told her that I would never forget about her and that we all lived in the same city, so if we had a chance, I would definitely drop by her apartment to have a cup of tea together. My words immediately lifted her spirits, and she poured herself more wine. She didn't forget about me either and poured me a large portion. I realized that she wanted to have a good rest before she left. We spent some more time together and then parted ways. And it seemed to happen just in time. My wife decided to surprise me upon my return. She arrived early. She didn't surprise me. As you can guess, my blood pressure was so high, I had to take pills. My wife comes into the apartment and the table is set, 2 glasses and plates with sliced sausage. "Did you have guests?" asked the surprised wife. "I know that I don't bring anyone into the house, only on big holidays. A friend came by for an hour to consult me about his new job." I quickly lied the first thing that came into my head, to be honest. "It's clear," my wife said, and went to the bathroom to wash my hands from the road. I quickly rushed to the bedroom to put things in order. It's clear to every fool why. My heart started pounding. I was afraid it would jump out. But it was over in a second. I was sweating from the rush. And from the surprise, too. My wife washed her hands, went to the bedroom, and I lay down on my side. I pretended I wanted to sleep. My wife quietly went out, closing the door behind her. I finally exhaled. It's gone. She cleaned up the kitchen, washed the dishes. Well done, thoughtful girl. I went to sleep with that thought. In the morning, I read a message from my mother-in-law. The wife had arrived. She didn't answer anything. She didn't expect it either. Only a week later, I decided to visit my mother-in-law. She started bothering me from the doorstep. She was only interested in one question: whether my wife suspected something or not. I reassured her that she knew nothing. Immediately, she was in a better mood and called me into her room. I couldn't deny myself this pleasure. And so we live. Sometimes I drop in for an hour. I understand her situation. I want to give her a good old time.